Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third session of HackTalks organized by Equinox, which is the annual tech quiz of IIIT. Myself, Shweta, and I'll be your host for the evening. And joining us today, we have Mr. Dhananjay Kumar, 12 times winner of Microsoft's Most Valuable Professional Award, Google developer expert in Angular, a best-selling author of Angular Essential books, a teacher, and founder of Geek 97, which creates job-ready developers and provides consulting to various clients. He also organizes NG India, which is one of the largest Angular conferences in the world. So hello, sir, and welcome to the session.
Thank you, Shweta, for a nice introduction.
So you can take the session forward.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening, and I hope I'm audible clearly. I'm going to share my screen with you. When you are able to see my screen, just let me know, one of you, that my screen is visible to you.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
All right, so if it is visible, okay, so what we are going to do, and
No,
I do not have any PPT, so we are going to
yes, sir. Yeah.
see, I'm typing Dhananjay. Can you see that?
No, sir, we can't.
You can't see my screen?
Yes, sir, it's visible
No?
now.
Dhananjay
Yes,
Kumar, can you
yes.
see that?
Yes, sir, yes, it's clear visible now.
All right. All right, so good evening, everyone. And what in next 1 hour, if internet supports it well, what we are going to do, we are going to learn Angular. And here I'm assuming that you are very beginner in Angular, and uh, and I'll just help you to that how you can start your journey in like Angular. Before I move further, Sweta and team, if I'm lagging or if my internet is not working, my voice is breaking, anything, please feel free to send me that notification on my WhatsApp. Okay. All right. So,
Yes, sir, I'll let you know.
all right. So now to start Angular, to work with Angular, what all you need. Now, what is Angular? So Angular is a framework by Google, and purpose of Angular is to create web applications. Mainly we use Angular to create single page applications. SPA stands for single page application. Today we are not going into detail of single page applications, but more or less you can understand that there's one page and everything when you navigate from one URL to another URL, asynchronously, only a section of page changes, and that is what single page application. And on internet you can learn a lot about single page applications. So I'm not going into theory of single page application, where I wish to focus on the coding part. So Angular is a Google framework which is mainly mobile applications and other stuff as well with Angular by using Ionic and R. Now, what you need to start Angular, you need basic understanding of HTML. You should know basic of HTML. For example, what is table tag, what is page tag, what is body, what is head. Those kind of basic things you need to know in HTML. And if you know that, you are good to go in the journey of Angular. If you know basic of HTML, then if you know basic of CSS, again CSS is very relative. If you are more into the design side, then you need to know more of CSS. If you are more into less into the design side, then basic understanding of CSS will also do. So you need to know CSS, and of course you need to know JavaScript. Now this is very interesting here. So when I say of course you need to know JavaScript, that is very generic statement, and having a good knowledge of JavaScript definitely helps you becoming a better Angular developer or React developer for that matter. But to learn Angular, you really don't need to know a lot of JavaScript, and that is good news. Even if you know a little bit of JavaScript, that how to create a variable, how to host a variable, what is hoisting, and those kind of things. That will help you. But even if you do not understand that, you do not need to worry about that, because Angular works on something called TypeScript. So in Angular, the code which you write in TypeScript. Now, what is TypeScript? TypeScript, how you can think of TypeScript. TypeScript is not a language per se. It is a simplified JavaScript. So there's something which there are things which you can, if you wish to do in JavaScript, you got to write a lot of code. You need to have a lot of deeper understanding of JavaScript. TypeScript simplifies that for you. So for example, if you want to create an interface in JavaScript, you do not have that. So TypeScript gives you that feature to create an interface. JavaScript has dynamic typing, or you can say JavaScript is type-free language. So you can assign, so there's no type checking when you are writing your code and when you are compiling your code in JavaScript, roughly. But to avoid that, and if you want to write a strongly typed, and if you want to leverage a type system of a language, then TypeScript provides you on top of JavaScript. Keep in mind that TypeScript is superset of JavaScript you can think of. But let's say that you have written a code in a.ts file. This a.ts file is of no use if it cannot be transpiled to a.js. So compilation or translation of .ts file to .js file is known as transpilation. So and that can be done through a TypeScript compiler, which you need to install in your application. So whatever you write in a TypeScript file, that is a simplified way of writing. You have classes, you have types, you have interface, you have generics, and those kind of things. You have enums, but all those things has to be transpiled to JS file such that your browser understands that. So in your browser, if you download a.ts file, browser won't understand that. So this is of no use, but your browser understands a.js. Your browser understands three things, right? Your browser understands JavaScript, your browser understands HTML, and then your browser understands CSS. So this TS has to be transpiled to JS such that your browser understands that. But that is just for your input, so that you know where TypeScript stands. And you are going to write your code in Angular in TypeScript. All right, so if you understand these basic things, now to do development in Angular, what you need to do, you need Node.js. So make sure that you have Node.js installed on your machine. And how do you do that? So go to your command prompt and run the command node v. So when I run command node v, I should get some version number. As you see on my screen, version number is version 16. So Node.js version 16 is installed on my machine. You may have different version installed on your machine depending on, you can get different output depending on the version which is installed on your machine. And if you're on Windows and if you get commands such that a bad command or external command, in that case, Node is not installed and you need to make sure that Node.js is installed. Once Node.js is installed on your machine and npm is installed on your machine, you need to install Angular CLI. So the first thing you need to install Node.js, then you need to install Angular CLI. CLI stands for Common Language Interface. Now, how do you check that, how you can install Angular CLI? It's very simple. You just run the command npm I. G means globally on the whole system I want to install that, and Angular CLI. So if you run this command, Angular CLI would be installed on your machine. And to check whether Angular CLI is successfully installed on your machine or not, run the command ng version. We call Angular, like in short, we call Angular as ng. So ng version, here you see that I get some little output, which says that on my machine, Angular version 13 is installed. So I'm good to go. So what two things you need to do? Install Node.js and install Angular CLI. Once these two are installed, you need an IDE. You can use any IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. You can choose any IDE of your choice. Most popular is VS Code. which gives you many extension and all, which can help you to speed up your development. So make sure that you have one IDE installed. Even you can have a Notepad plus plus or Sublime Text for that, very strong, but VS Code is most popular. So here you have Node.js installed, you have Angular CLI installed, and you have VS Code installed. Before you move further, what you can do is that you can go and check here angular.io CLI, and here on this page you can find basic information that how to install Angular CLI and some basic commands. All right, so here I'm going to give you a 2 minute of break. So far we learned that what is the purpose of Angular, to create single page application. Then we talked about that in Angular. To start with Angular, you need basic learning of HTML, basic learning of CSS, or very basic of JavaScript. And of course, TypeScript, if you know it, is good, but you can learn it along when you do Angular. Now, what is TypeScript? We learned about that also, that it is a kind of simplified JavaScript which adds type to JavaScript, and it gives you, as a developer, you can create interface, you can create class, you can create enum, you can use generics and all those object-oriented concepts. But keep in mind that your TypeScript has to be transferred to JavaScript such that it is useful, because your browser does not understand TS, it only understands .js. After that, we learned that to do the development in Angular, you need Node.js installed on your machine, you need Angular CLI installed on your machine, and of course, you need one IDE installed on your machine. So far, I hope all of you have installed these three things, you have taken the notes, and we are good to go and start writing our first Angular application. I'm going to give you a minute of break if you want to take a note or something. Just like background checking, my voice is okay, my screen is visible, team?
Yes, sir, everything is fine.
Okay. All right, so let's write our first Angular application. This is going to be fun. So here, let's say that I'm going to start writing my first Angular application. So I'll say that, and on my machine, Node.js and Angular CLI is installed. So to create your first Angular application, you need to run the command ng new. Again, ng is sort of Angular, so ng new means new application, and whatever name you wish to give. So here, let's say that I give hack app. That is my application name. So I say ng new hack app, and then press enter. So here it is asking me that would you like to add Angular routing? Now, what is routing? Routing means when you click, you go from one page to another page, or you can say one screen from another screen. Because saying we go from one page to another page is wrong, because in very beginning I told you that we use Angular to create single page applications. So theoretically it cannot have multiple pages. But of course we can have multiple screens, and those screens get loaded asynchronously through XHR, and that is concept of single page application. So it is asking that in this application, do I want to add that feature? And we'll say yeah, add. So we'll say that yes. Then it is asking me that which kind of a style sheet format you wish to use, whether you want CSS, SCSS, SAS, less. Most popular is SCSS, but I'm going with the default option, CSS. Then you see that it is creating many files for me. Can you see that it's creating some JSON, Angular.json file, it is creating some package.json file, then it is creating app.component.html, app.component.css, and other stuff. So it has created all required files, this ng new command, to scaffold a new Angular application. And then in the bottom, you can see it is installing packages using npm. Now, if you are new to JavaScript development, let us use this time to explain you what is this npm. If you already don't know it, so in JavaScript development, whether it's you are doing React development, or you are doing Node.js development, or you are doing Vue.js development, or you are doing Angular development, any development which is based on JavaScript, your application will have dependencies. So for example, let us say that you are creating a website either in React or in Angular. That website is going to provide scientific calculator feature to users. So user can come and on that website they can do this. They can calculate sine, they can calculate cost, they can calculate tan. They can do these scientific calculations. Now you have two choice. All these scientific mathematical calculation functions, either you can write yourself. So for that you have to become a mathematician and you need to know all those mathematics and how to find differentiation, how to find integration, and you can write that in your application and then you can create the website. That is option one. Option two is that maybe there is someone who has already written those functions and you can use that function in your application. Now, that someone who has written that function may choose to give you those functions free of cost. And when that person chooses to give you those functions in form of library free of cost to you or to anyone else, that is called open source. But if someone has created that function, put it in the form of library, and they're asking you money for that, those are like called product-based company. There are many companies which does that, and you pay them some monthly or yearly subscription or one-time buy, and you use those functionalities in your project. And if it is free, if they are under MIT license, then that is called open source. So that's what just open source is. Now you might be thinking that you might have seen on Twitter and LinkedIn that I'm open source contributor. Now what is open source contributor? Open source contributor means that, let's say that scientific calculation library, you are using that and you found a bug in that. So let's say that I have created that library. I have made it free for everyone. So that library is available on internet free of cost. Anyone can use that free of cost. And while using, you found that, okay, one of the functions are giving wrong output. One of the function has wrong mathematical formula. So what you may choose to do, you may choose to fix that. You may download that whole library. You may choose to fix that and then send a pull request to original author of the library. Original author will review your work, and that person may accept your pull request. And if that is done, then you become contributor to this open source library. And then you can go and write everywhere on your resume and everywhere that, hey, I am an open source contributor. So it's a little bit off track, but I hope you understand a bit about what is open source. Now, let's say that you have that is a library available for scientific calculation. How we are going to get that library inside our project in the JavaScript world? So in the JavaScript world, if I create any such library, what will I do? I will publish that library to something called npm directory. Node package manager directory. You see that here, this is a directory which is accepted by the community, by whole developer community. And here I can go and publish that library. Now, how to publish that? That is different. There are various ways to do that, and we are not going to cover that today, but you can learn. So let's say that here I go and say that, hey, I want a library to find, let's say that calculator only. So I'll say that, hey, do you have any calculator kind of library? Let's say that search here. So we are searching here, and you see that you have one library called calculator. Now you click here. So there is someone who has created this library and put it like 10 years back, and it is public, and that, hey, if you wish, you can use this library in your project. And you see that here, this license is MIT, means this is our open source library. You don't have to pay anything to this person to use this. Now, how I can use this library inside my project? So for that, what I will do, so this is my project, right? I created this CD hack app. So you see that this is my project. If I say dir, you can see there are many files created. Let's first focus on those files. So I'll open that file in Visual Studio Code. And in Visual Studio Code, you see that I opened the project which Angular CLI created for us. Let's start with examining this file, package.json. Now in this package.json, you see that there's a file called package.json, and in that file, you have a section called dependencies. Dependencies means these are the libraries your project right now is depending on. Means these are the libraries which are available in the npm npm directory, and your project has a dependency on these libraries. Now let's say that if I want to add dependency of calculator library in my project, so here is a calculator library. So for that, what we'll do, we'll come here and say npm I stands for install, and then we'll put this calculator. So here I'm saying, I'm clicking enter. So, and I need to be connected from the internet. There's some warning and everything. And but that calculator library is installed on my machine. Installed on my project. Now, if I go to package.json here, in package.json, can you notice in line number 21, a calculator, something, some reference to calculator is added, everyone? Right? You can notice that. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds here. So now it says that my project has dependency on that calculator library. And in the project, you can see that you have a node modules folder. So whatever dependencies your project has, all those libraries are installed inside this node module. So what I can do here to just to showcase you is I'll go and let's say that try to, if I can, so here I will, so here I'm going to delete that node modules folder. So I'll say that, hey, delete this node module folder for me. So whenever I'll give you this project to you, and again, this is not specific to Angular, this is specific to any JavaScript-based library. I'll give you the project, and if I push this code project to GitHub or any version control, I'll push it without node modules folder. But this package.json file is here. Now, like I got this project, and when I run this command npm install, what node on npm will do, it will search for package.json file in that directory. And here you have that package.json file. And then it will go through all these dependencies and install them in your project inside node modules folder. So I'll say npm install. We deleted node module folder, you remember that. All right, so here we are again installing it. And this command will create node modules folder, and all the dependencies your project has would be inside that. All right, so it has created, and if I go back again you see that we have node modules folder. So that's the purpose of package.json. It tells you that all the dependencies and dev dependencies. Dependencies means these libraries are required when it runs in the browser as well, and dev dependencies means these libraries are only required for the development purpose, and these libraries should not go as part of the production. Then you have these scripts command. Those are the commands which are which when you run, this particular command would get executed. Anyway, so now you understand about package.json. Your assignment is that go and find out what is package.log.json. What is the purpose of package.log.json? That's your assignment, and go and figure it out that. Anyway, then you have here a tsconfig.json file. The tsconfig.json file tells you that how that TypeScript will be transpiled to JavaScript. So it has information about that. For example, it tells you that, hey, target TypeScript to ES2017. Means it tells you that this version of the output of TypeScript file in this project will have JavaScript output of this version, which is ECMAScript 2017. and so on. So tsconfig.json has information about how TypeScript has to be transferred to JavaScript. Package.json has information about all the dependencies and commands. And then you have one other important file called Angular.json, and it has configuration about your Angular project. So everything related to your Angular project is here. So for example, if you install Bootstrap in your project, you may have to come here and add certain things here in the assets folder, in the styles folder, and all. So these are the important files you need to know. Apart from that, you have something called app.component, you have index.html. And you see that your index.html looks very simple, nothing fancy here, but it has something called app root. Now let's see that what is .app root. I'll come to that. Besides that, you have something called main.ts. In main.ts, here you see in line number 11, it says that, hey, bootstrap app module. So in Angular, the very first thing is module and component. I'm coming to that, what is module and component in a bit. But here main.ts tells you that, hey, bootstrap which module? App module. Now, if you go to app module, inside app module, it tells you that, hey, bootstrap which component? App component. Right here. And again, if you go to the definition, this is app component, and you see that this selector is app root. And on the HTML file, you saw exactly this app root here, right? So by default, Angular CLI creates one component for you, and it makes that component as your entry component, as your bootstrap component. Now, what is component? Let's first start from there. So here you see that you have a HTML file, app.component.html, you have app.component.ts, and you have app.component.css. So what I'm going to do to start with, I'll go to this app.component.html and I'll delete everything, whatever is there. I'll say h1 and hello coders. So here I have put h1 and hello coders. That's it. And now let's go ahead and run our Angular application. So to run our Angular application, there is command ng-serve. All right, ng-serve, and so here we just did a simple change, deleted whatever was in the app.component.html and put one h1 tag and started running our application. Let's see how it goes. So here you see that you are getting hello coders, right, in your browser. This is a Angular application. Now in Angular application, whatever you see, so let's say that there's an Angular website, for example, gmail.com is an Angular website, right? For example, Indian Railway website is an Angular website. So when you see an Angular website, and whatever you can see as a user is called component. It's a very rough definition I'm giving you, okay? So whatever you see, so what I see, so right now this hack app is an Angular website, and I can see these hello coders, right? Written. Means this hello coder is a component. So whatever you see and whatever your user would interact to is called component in Angular. So in your Angular application, you can have any number of components. You can have 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 components. But ideally, one component would be the bootstrap component or main component. So when you use Angular CLI to bootstrap an Angular application, it creates one component for you, and that component, and Angular CLI makes that component as the bootstrap component. Now, a component, so in Angular, a component is made of three things. A component has one HTML file, one optional CSS file. It can have its own CSS, or it can take CSS from style.css, and one TS file, which is TypeScript file. So a component has a TS file, a CSS file, and HTML file. So if I say, if I want to add one component in my application, I can say ng generate component, and I can give the component name. So here I'm saying ng product. This should add one component in my application. So let's product component in my application. So let's go here to the command prompt, and here we can say ng product. We are trying to add a product component in our application. So you saw that on the screen, you can see it tells you that it has created one file called product.component.html, one file called product.component with stake.ts, that is unit test file. As of now, you can ignore that. Then product.component.ts. So it has created HTML, TS, and CSS file for you, and also it has updated updated app.module.ts for you. So now here in application, you see that it has created a product folder for you. In the product folder, there is a product.component.ts. So everything is a TypeScript class. Here export class product component, and this product component is name of the class, and this component would be known with this selector name app product. Is HTML, so that is template URL is in the product.component.html, and its optional CSS is in product.component.css. And this product component implements on in it. We would come to that in a bit. As of now, let's just delete that. You really don't need that. That is called lifecycle hook, but right now let's just ignore that. So here is a product component. Now what I'm going to do in the product component, I'm going to have, let's say, that title, and that title is product. All right, and here we have what I'm going to do. I'm going to create, let's say, a title product. Yeah, and I want to display this title. So how I can display that? I'll go to this product.component.html, and here I can say that, okay, display that in. So here, I'll come back to data binding again, but I'm using one type of data binding in Angular called interpolation, and I can say h2 title. So here you see that this h2 title, this will display that title property, whatever is the value inside this title property in that product. All right, this is good. You created a component called product, and you have put some basic data here, and we are displaying that here. And you can even go to product.css, and here you can say h2 color red, right? So it should display that h2 in red ideally. Okay, so we have created another component. Now how we can use that? And this is something you really need to understand. When I started learning Angular, I had tough time figuring it out that, okay, I created a new component, how I can use it. Now you can use component in various ways. You can use component in various ways. Right? First is that you can use component through routing. So what happens that you can say that if let's say that your application name is ABC, so you can say that abc.com/product. So you can instruct that, hey, if I go to base URL/product, load me the product component. If I go to abc.com, and here I'm assuming that abc.com is your domain name, sales, then load me the sales component. So you can use component by routing, by navigating from one route to another route. That is one way of using a component. Second way of using a component is that use a component inside another component. Right? Or load a component inside, use a component inside another component. That's another way of doing that. So here we are going to see that the second approach, that how we can use that. So here now you see that you have two components, and one component is the main component, and that information is right here. So here in the declaration, you can see that, okay, we have two components, app component, product component, but our entry component is app component. That is already configured. Now I need to use this product component. So what I'll do, I'll go to this app component HTML, and here I can say that, hey, I want to use that product component. All right. So the way you use a normal HTML elements. So here what happens is that app component has become the parent component, and product component has become the child component. So let's go and run it again and see that whether we are able to use that or not. All right, so it's compiled successfully, and we are here. And run this. You see that you have this product here, and it has taken the CSS of its own. Now, if you look at here and inspect this, here you can see that you have app root component, and inside that you have app product component. Means we are using that component inside another component. So you just learned that how you can create a component and how you can navigate from one component to another component. If you want to use routing for that, the other approach. So here we have app.routing.module.ts, and here what we can say, here we can say that, okay, path, if path is, let's say, home, load me component, home component. We don't have home component, so let's add a home component here. So what we'll say that ngg is home. So here we are adding a home component. Oh, sorry, I added a service. That's, we want to add a component. So I'll come to the service later. Ngc home, I added a home component. So here I'll say that, hey, if I navigate to base URL / home, please load me home component. Then if I go to path and if I go to product, then load me product component. And if I'm on the path, like if I'm on the home page, then I can say redirect to home and path match. I guess full. I guess this is path match full. So what we are saying here, we created three URL for in our application. Base URL / home, load home component. Base URL / product, load product component. Base URL, then redirect to home, is go to home and then again load home component. All right. Then what we'll do, we'll go to app component.html, and here we'll remove this app product, and we need to use something called router outlet, because you remember I told you it's a single page application. So in the same page, those components would be loaded. So now the home component, product component, etc. would be loaded inside this router outlet. And this H1 hello coder should be always there. So now our application, let's run it. All right, so we are here, and you see that here you see this, you are getting homeworks. By default, you go to home, and if I change this home to product, I'm back to product. When I'm changing the URL, I'm loading that component. So here, let's say that we can go and we can go and we can create so let's say that go to this am I audible, everyone?
Yes, so you are now. Yes.
All right, so let's go to app component.html here. And let's add two buttons. Let me know when you are live. Okay, so what? Okay, so here what I have done, I added two buttons here, and then I can say router link, and on home we want to go to home, and on this button click on router link we want to go to products. And you remember we created these routes here. So here we are saying my app, and these are the two buttons which we just created. So let's go and see that how our application looks now. So we have home and product. When you click on home, you are back to home. Click on product. So let's see that why it's not going to product. Products, and oh, okay, it's Products. All right, so here you see that our application, when we start our application, how we are routing, we are on the home by default. When we click on product, we are on product. Here URL changes, then go back to home again, go back to product again. So these are the two ways you can work with multiple components. You can you can navigate from one component to another component, or you can use a component inside another component. So far so good. So far so good, everyone. If yes, then we are going to learn next topic, data binding. When you start learning Angular, this is the first thing you learn, that how to data bind, how data goes from in the component, how data goes from TS to HTML. So you have TypeScript. Once cross check, am I audible, everyone?
Yes, sir. You're clearly audible.
Yeah. So here you see that I have a TypeScript and I have HTML. And when you in the component you have TypeScript and HTML. So when you need to display data from TypeScript to HTML, that is one-way data binding, you use something called interpolation. And interpolation, the syntax of interpolation is two curly bracket. So here, let's say that in the product component, we have a data called title, then we have data called price, and we need to display that on the HTML. So what we'll do, we'll go here, we can use title, we can use here H3 and price. So this is the interpolation and price. This is first data binding, simplest data binding, where data goes from your component to your TypeScript, your component to your HTML. So here you see that product and 99, you go to home, then go to product and 99 is displayed here. So that is first type of data binding. Second type of data binding is that, let's say that if you have a button here in your application, and that button is saying say hello. So you have a button called say hello, and then you have a function here, let's say called say hello, and you want to call that function on the click of that button. And you should not have alert inside a component, but for just to explain, I'm using that. So I'm saying hello world, and when I click on that button, I want to call this function. So right now we have a button here, say hello. When we click on that button, we wish to call that function. So in this, what happens that you have information going from HTML to TS. So you capture a user event, capture event of user. Event means click, double click, drag and drop. Capture event of user and call a function. So this is called event binding, and syntax for that is a small bracket. So what I'll say we'll do here, we'll go to that button right here and say that button, and then click. We want to capture that click event. So click, and that click would go into a small bracket. And on click of that, we want to call this function say hello. So take this say hello and put it here. Okay, so in this way, you can call the function on click of that button. So let's see that in the output. When I click on this say hello, you see that you are getting that alert there. So that is second type of data binding. Third type of data binding, and that is very interesting, is that if you look at the first type of data binding, interpolation, what you do, you take data and display that data. However, let's say that it is the same, exactly same that you take data from TS and on HTML, but instead of displaying, you set property of elements. So for example, if you set properties such that height, such that width, such that image source, and those kind of things. When you set property of element, and when I say element means it could be table, button, image, anything. When you set property of the element on HTML, instead of displaying the data, you use data to set the property. That is called property binding, and that is donated in the square bracket. So let's say that here I have in product component, I have this price, and to display that price, I'm using this interpolation. But what if I want to set height of this button with that price value? So I'll use property binding, a square bracket, and I'll say style dot height dot px and set that to price. You see that this price is your standard height dot px. I guess this sometimes no, sorry. So this price is a property which we have. In line number 3, you are displaying that. However, in line number 5, you are using the same price data to set the height property of the button. So here, this value is, let's say, 100. And see that how it is affecting the button size. So you see that button size is, the button height has been increased to 100. So here I have created a property name, all right? And here we can say hello name. So you see that since this input box is in two-way data binding, as soon as users start typing inside this input box, the value of name would get affected, and then you are using proper interpolation to display that. So this is two-way data binding, and here we'll go to product, and as soon as you start writing Dhananjay, you'll see that you are getting that value here. So that is two-way data binding. So here, very quickly, you learned one very important topic of Angular, which is two-way data binding. If you read my book, this is second chapter. Anyone who starts learning Angular, this is the first thing they learn. They learn data binding. Very quickly, I shown you, and to revise, there are 4 types of data bindings actually in Angular. First is interpolation, in which you display data from TypeScript to HTML. Second is your event binding, where you capture user events such that click, double click, drag, drop, and call a function in TypeScript. Third is property binding, in which you, instead of displaying, you instead of displaying you set property of elements on HTML. And fourth is called two-way data binding, when you combine property binding and event binding together. So these are the four types of data bindings, and this is something which is first thing, of course, after this package.json and those things you learn. And I hope all of you are now aware of what is data binding. So if you are aware of how much time we do have more.
So we have like 5 minutes more or 10 minutes as.
Okay, so very quickly, I'll just show you that how you can display data such that that would make sense for you. So what I'm going to do, let's say that I'm going to my home component here and move all this product thing from here to home component. Which is on our home component. All right, home. Now let's say that you have to display data. How would you display that? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add Bootstrap CDN in my project. You can either install or you can add Bootstrap CDN, or you can use CDN. So I'm just putting CSS only. And here in my application, I can put that on index.html. So I added a CSS here. I'll go to app.component.html and put everything inside a div class container. Right, and then we can say class center. Right, and then we sorry, we are going to have this HR here. Right, so let's see that how our application looks as of now. Is this looking okay or not? Yeah, so my app, and we have this home and product. So on the home, these things are there. On the product, let's see that how it goes. Then these buttons can be class BTN and BTN picture, and then I'm just making it a little bit okay so that you can see that if I'm going to create a website, how it could help you. All right, so right now, oh dear Lord, better I can. Again, my internet gone. So so, so here I'm deleting that. Hello.
Yes, sir.
It looks like my internet is already
Yes, there seems to be some connectivity.
again causing some
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so here we added two buttons, and then you can see that like here are the buttons. When you go to product, then home, and then home. Very quickly, what I'm going to do is that let's go to product, and let's say that you have a function called get products here, and that function return to a product. So in your application, that would come from API or somewhere. Here, quickly, I'm putting a JSON object to show you that how it looks. So what I'll do is that I will quickly here. Let me see that if I have some JSON already handy. So I'll go to my Angular training, and then I'll go to my data demo, and then SRC, and then app, and here. So from here, I'll just I'll take some TS. Oh, so you don't have that here. Never mind. So I'll quickly here create. So let's say that I have one ID as one, title as pen, price as 100, color as red. So your data would come more or less like this from your database, from your API, whether it's REST API or GraphQL API. So here we have that data, and how we can display that data. That what I'm going to show you. So here I'm just creating data in the component itself, but it would come from your API. Keep in mind. That and so let's say that we have these three data, and what we'll do, we'll have a constructor here, and then here we will have a products variable, and in the constructor we may say that this dot products equal to this dot get products. So here we have the get products in our application. Now, how we can display that in a table on the HTML. All right. So here to do that, keep in mind this is not the best practice. I just put it here. Your real data should come from API and through service. You should not use any. You should use a strongly type. That's why we are using TypeScript. But right now, just to show you, now we'll go to product.html. On the product.html, here, let's add a table. So here we'll say table, and in that table we want to display that data. So table class table, and it is going to have the head ID and title, then price, and then color. Okay, and then next we'll again take tr, and inside that we need td how many times? One, two, three, four, 5 times. So if four, there are four properties, so one, two, three, four. All right, now we need to repeat this row as many times as we have the items in the array. And for that, Angular gives you directives. So in Angular, you have structured directives and attribute directives. The structure directive changes the structure of your element, and one such directive is called ng4. So we'll say star ng4, and we can say let p of, and this p of in these products. Let p of products, and then you can use your interpolation to display p dot id. Id is the property name. Then here we can say p dot title. So we can say p dot price, and then here p dot color. You see that how we are using a structure directive ng4 to display data here in a table. Now let's go ahead and see that how the output here. So home and product. I did some mistake maybe in creating this. Oh, sorry, it should be the head here and the head here, and this should be, I guess, th instead of th. So th. Yes, and you might have noticed that today we did not have any slides, nothing, everything we created through live coding. And that should give you confidence that if we can achieve that much in 30-40 minutes, it means you can very much very much achieve that in your project, in your hackathon. You can very much achieve uh, a lot through Angular. So you see that you have this here on the home. Okay, so you see that we are getting data in the table through a structure, through the structure directives.
So your voice is cracking.
So if you have any question, I'm happy to take. We are already 10 minutes more than the scheduled time, and and my name is Dhananjay Kumar. You can reach out to me. My email address is debug_mode for anything. So here I'm going to put my email address for you. Okay, so if it is cracking now, you can give a closure to the audience. But is it better now?
Yes, sir, it's much better now.
Is it better now?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. It's much better. Am I not audible, sir?
Is it better now?
Yes, sir, it's much better.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, so this is my email address, everyone, if you want to be in touch. And one thing, if I, yeah, so this is my email address. And if you have any question, if someone is asking any question on the channel, you can ask me. Or else we can say, I need to Yeah, you are
Yes, sir.
audible.
There are questions in the chat. One among which is
Yeah, so
yes,
that's my email address. If there's any question, I'm happy to answer.
yes, sir.
Otherwise, best of luck to everyone for the hackathon.
Thank you so much. So, okay, so can you hear me?
Hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. I
Okay,
can
sir.
hear you.
Hi. Yes, sir. So, sir, there's a question in the chat, which is, sir, how much time will be needed if we want to learn Angular and already have a basic understanding of React?
If you already have basic understanding of React, so Angular and React are very different when it comes to their terminologies and all. But if you already know React, it should help. And I don't think like basic level of Angular, you should be able to do that in 20-25 hours. And then you can go
Oh,
deeper.
okay, so there's another question that is Yarn compatible with Angular?
Is what?
1 second, sir. Yeah, is Yarn compatible with
Yes, yes, yes.
yes. Okay. So with this, we'll like come to the end of the session. So and that
Okay,
was
so can I pitch us something of mine if you don't mind, like 30 seconds?
yeah, of course, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so with everyone here, so I work on Angular for last 4 or 5 years, and I organize a conference called NG India, which is the largest Angular conference and one of the top three Angular conferences in the world. So this conference is again happening on 21st of May in Delhi. So far it has happened like 4 times. Sorry, 3 times, 2018, 19, and 20. And as you see that again, there would be like more than 400 developers and speakers are coming from all across world. So please, if some, I don't know in which city you people are based out of. Which city, Sweta, you people are based out of?
So right now we're in college in Lucknow, but everyone's from
Okay.
everywhere. So
Okay, means this part of country only. So feel
yes,
free to feel free to come to this conference, and definitely you will meet many interesting people. You can do networking and anything. And if any one of you wish to come and and you need some student discount, just let me know, and I will try to get you my level best. Besides that, I'm going to start. I'm going to start very soon, maybe from tomorrow itself, on my YouTube channel Geek97, Angular series, which like daily we'll be posting 10 minutes of Angular videos. So feel free to subscribe to this channel Geek97, and here you can find, as you see that here you can find many Node.js videos and Angular videos which are already there. But you can from tomorrow or day after tomorrow you can expect more Angular series. So channel name is Geek97, conference name is NG India, and I wish best of luck to each one of you
yes, our
for
team
any
will
kind
make
of.
sure that yes, sir, and our team will make sure that these links are circulated in our college groups. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So before we end the session, sir, if you would like to like add on anything.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. Now, if you need any further help, anything, just let me know. Anyone from the audience, if they wish to invite me in their college and all. I don't prefer online a lot. You see how many technical glitches today we had,
Yes.
but yeah, but we can figure it out.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for coming, sir, and that was a really informative session. So thank you for that, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Okay, so bye, sir. Bye, everyone.